So happy Friday, everyone. On behalf of Prani, everyone, we are very excited to have this session of tips and tricks, accounting, financial tips and tricks. It's basically we gathered multiple questions we got through the year. As well, we reviewed in details the ASAC survey where they interviewed hundreds of SAP Business One clients, and we kind of gathered and created a presentation that hopefully answers a lot of the questions and a lot of the things are missing in the SAP Business One documentation, and kind of open that space to you know um, get you better familiar with some of the features available and some of the hidden features that sometimes people ask and we answer and they say, "Oh, I didn't know about that." So um, very happy to join forces with Carol. It's been 2 years since we did.
We're back.
Yeah, been a couple of years since we did presentation together, and I'm not sure why, because last time some of the feedback was very good. So, Carol,
I know we're back by popular demand, and hoping today to do more to provide you tidbits and some aha moments, and hopefully some lightning bolts of excitement moments as well. I especially anticipate that with you, Diane, when we get to the Excel part, because I know you are an Excel lover. With that, so the meeting is full, so I don't know if maybe we might need to have Travis. Could you drop off just to see if anybody else wants to add on?
and we're going
Sure.
to record this session, so we're going to send it to everybody, including documentation and that kind of stuff. So, with that
Sure.
being said, let's begin. Can everybody see the screen well?
Yes.
So we gathered a couple of topics that are very interested. Some of that and some of the challenges are around financial reporting that have not been changed with Business One for a few years. So we wanted to bring some visibility to alternatives and how to enhance your financial reportings with some out of the box tools and with some easy configurations. And then also to see how to control the data, how to affect different refs and be able to present different information in different reports. Carol?
One of the great new features that has been a pain point for accountants throughout the history of the universe is bank reconciliations and bank integration. So they started enhancing it in 9.1. It's really improved in 9.2, and there's even a little bit more in 9.3, but we'll be focusing today on the improvements and the enhancements made in 9.2, SAP 9.2, for talking to the bank and getting information from the bank.
Right. And as part of that, we also going to talk about some automatic reconciliation that could be extended using the bank integration. We're going to review some things around sales tax. So there are different definitions can be done, and there is a new service SAP provide now for automation of sales tax. So we're going to review that. And then we're going to go through some generic tips and tricks and provide some documentation and additional resources. And hopefully we'll have some time for questions and answers.
And of course, as we go through general things, if you guys have questions, interrupt as we go. With questions or messages on the chat section of the GoToMeeting, and we encourage all group participation. So.
All right. So we're going to start with reporting, and with some of them, we're going to drill down to show you actually how to do that. So to enhance reporting in Business One, there are different options. Carol is going to go through the general ledger and the reference fields link. I'm going to hit some Excel and Crystal report options. We are not going to drill down into different options for enhanced reporting like HANA, like external BI tools, but we can show some of the options, easy options using Excel for example. So with that being said, let's open business one. We are now actually on the prototype version of the 9.3, so it maybe the the menu is a little bit different, but it's the same software.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's still in the, I don't know, would you still call it, it's not in beta version anymore, but it's not,
Version. Carol.
yeah, yeah, we would not release it to people yet, but it's exciting to see some of the things in there. So I know we have talked in the past about using the general ledger report and the expanded features. Do I have, I don't think I have the mouse.
Yeah, you have the mouse.
So we wanted to, I want to just reiterate, I don't have the mouse. Okay, finally. Sorry about that. So actually I've put it down here in the common functions, but to get to it, to the general ledger, from accounting reports, general ledger, but we'll just go in through here. I've created a little one, but I'll show you how to start from scratch to create a customized general ledger report that you might, oh, I should have done don't show again, huh? But in here, as we've shown in the past, that you have all kinds of filters and criteria and selection criteria for what you can do. And if you start out in add mode, you can create one as you go where you want to show just everything for one day of the year. Oh, I know, we should use my birthday. Let's use that as a example day. And then go into expanded and say you just want to see all the deliveries that were done on that day. I'm not sure if there's going to be any, but this is a test. But well, yeah, so it would bring up everything that you wanted for that day, and then you could save this as your and have it be, if this is the kind of query you need to look for a lot. Well, there's a lot more people trying to join. It's exciting. I told you we're popular, Oren. But I have created in here a unclear checks selection where, so I've selected my saved query, my saved report, that it automatically goes, I just want assets for the accounts for the year, and then in the expanded, it's just vendor payments that I'm looking for. So in here, if there's no external reconciliation, so all of these are all transactions that have not cleared the bank yet with the check number, or it was an ACH transfer or whatnot. So if you need to try to find a check from a customer that you sent to a vendor that they say they didn't receive, you can go in and try to find if you really think it wasn't in the last bank statement. It's like, well, no, it's not here opened. It cleared our bank. So this is a nice, just a little example of what kind of customization you can put just right out of the box using the expanded feature and then saving your selection criteria report.
Yeah, and the general ledger is really a report that is underused, I think.
Definitely.
Anything you really want to look at related to accounting is available through that report. If you want to look at a specific amount or a specific type of document or between specific dates, and then this is extremely important one to find, good receipt POs that are open at the end of the year and things of that nature. So you can do not fully reconciled, and then that will show you different things, including consider the reconciliation date to understand what happened in the history. And as Carol said, different views can have different, you can save selection criteria to save different views per user. And
Okay.
then the other thing I think you wanted to show, Carol, is the reference fields link.
Oh, yes, yes. So that's my next little tidbit of information. Although this isn't so much a tidbit as revolutionary, I think. So if we go up here to menus, reference field links, you can get to it through here. I also pulled it down here. I have an example one set up. One of the questions that come up quite a bit is that when you look into the chart of accounts and just look in like who all did we pay under meals for the last month or entertainment, and it shows a vendor code but no name. So if you go into the reference field links, this is what is normally in all the fields that come up naturally under a journal entry. But if you change a few of them to be, the one I want is VP2, and have this be vendor name, you can try it in let's try it in two different places. So you can see just where it would go on the chart of accounts. These changes are only effective from this point forward. They don't go back and retro change transactions. But if we were to take a sales order, wait, that was a AP that I just did, right? Let's just I'll add an invoice so you can see. I wonder if they have any purchase orders open. No. Oops. Oh, sorry. What happened? Sorry, you were trying to help, weren't you, Oren?
Exactly.
So now you can see the name is in here and here. But more importantly, we don't need it. We don't need it in this account balance because we already know it's Far East. To me, the more exciting place is if you go into the travel expense for the month. You can finally see the vendor name associated with this.
Yeah. So in the same way, you can define it to any transactions, and you can control your ref 1, 2, and 3 that will be in the journal entry. So you're very flexible, and you can add, UDFs are supported with that. So you could really affect what will be posted in your each one of the refs that is available in different financial reports. Does that make sense? Any questions so far?
We had a question from Kathy. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I just saw it. Thanks. You can get to the reference field link a couple of ways. Either have it memorized where it is in the system. I'm just going to close everything. It's getting too cluttered. Or if you go up here to the search menu, the search field, and change it to menu items, it opens up every day to be data that you're searching, but I tend to use it more for menus and just start typing in. Somebody's moved my mouse again. Why? Okay, there we go. And then if you hover over it, it'll say right in here where it is in the menu. or you can just click on it and it'll go to it. And then to get into any of the detail of it, you have to double click in this little box, not anywhere else. It's one of those quirky little drill downs. So this always tells you what it originally was if you want to change everything back to factory settings, and if you've started being too creative and then it's kind of messed up some other reports you didn't anticipate, you can set it back to how it came out of the box and then maybe start a little slower. Not that I've ever done that, but I've heard people have.
All right, so that's those are hitting the general ledger and the reference fields links that could affect different reports. And then the other thing, when we want to extend financial reports, specifically P&L or balance sheet, and see that versus budget in a specific way, and maybe do some forecasting and what if scenario. I think the best tool really to use is Excel. HANA, for example, have some Excel cubes out of the box that could be configured, so that's a very good tool. But even if you have, and most clients currently have SQL, it is very, very easy to connect with Excel, but in a real time. So Excel connected to your ERP in a real time and provide different financial reports, and then you can play with that. So let me show you how it works. I created some financial reports, and then I'm also gonna go through, creating a new report. So the way to do that is really simple. First, you need to create a view, a query on what information you want to look into. So I created here kind of a simple report. I created a view. It's called financials. And I want to go to design just to show you how easy is the query. So it's not a huge query, it's just a simple query, few lines. It brings information of all the transaction. It brings from OJDT and JDT1, which is all the journal entry and journal entry lines, as well as OACT, which is the structure of the chart of account. So it brings the folder, the level, what's the footer, so we know it's the structure, the currency, all the refs, the format code, debit, credit, obviously, the dates and things of that nature. So that kind of bring results from the query, and I save that as financial. Now I can, from Excel, connect automatically to SAP and create pivot and decide what fields are going to be presented. And then I have the capability to do with Excel, what Excel knows how to do. So for example, if I want to see just right now I have all the information from the database. But for example, if I want to see just the recent 3 years, I can filter easily and I can use all the rest of the nice Excel tools to support that. And then obviously I have drill down, so I can define how the structure is going to be and what fields are going to be presented by just drag and drop or clicking and presenting what information is going to be presented. Maybe I want the format code, but not the account code, the system code. So it provides those layers that could be as deep as you wish it to be. Just to show you how simple it is, let me start a new report from scratch and how we could use out-of-the-box Excel. This is no add-on, there is no additional cost, we just need Excel basically. So let me start a new report. I'm going to work on my database, SBO demo US, and simply I write create view. We're going to call it sales cube test as, and now I need to write the query. So I'm going to pull maybe all my sales orders. Select star from ORDR. That query will bring me all the sales orders information. It's created. Now when I refresh the views, we're going to see a new view called sales cube test. I can design or view the information. If I do design, I see the query, you also see the information. So that will show all the information from the sales orders table. And then I can go to Excel and connect to that queue basically. It's coming, so that shows me all the information, all the fields available in my database, and then I can go basically to Excel. I'm gonna open a new sheet. Sorry, there is a question? No. I'm gonna open a new sheet, and as long as I'm within the network, I can go to data, and I have all kinds of connections, but I can create a new one from SQL, and I'm gonna specify a SQL server. One time you need to do that to set up the password and the server. And that's all. I need to choose which database we are going to connect to. So in my case, it was in the US. You will see all the tables in the database, all the stored procedures, and all the views. So I'm going to type sales. This is sales cube test, the one we created. I click next. I have all kinds of options if to save the password, so I don't need to retype it and things of that nature. And refresh automatically and all kinds of options. When I click finish, it can give me an option for table, for pivot, or for both. I'll start with just the table. So that pulls now all the information from directly from the database. If I do insert in our pivot table, I can, do my own pivot table in a new worksheet. And then I just work in Excel directly on the database. Maybe I want the doc entry or the doc num. Maybe I want the customer code, the customer name, maybe the date, and maybe I want a date as a column, so I move it to the column. But maybe I don't want to have each date separately, so I can go to the field of the date and right click and field settings. Wasn't field setting. Okay.
It should be in a group.
Okay. Group.
Yep.
And then we can do months and years or just years. So if we do years, that shows me, all the sales orders between dates. And then we can continue to filter because maybe I don't want the canceled orders. I can go to my doc status and show just the ones that are open, for example. So, within a matter of minutes, you can create almost any report in Excel connected directly to your database in the form that you want to have it. You can have all kinds of, if you add a field in Excel, you can immediately refresh all. So those fields will be added here. For example, if I have doc now, and I want to call it in my query, I want to call it something else or to add fields. So as maybe I call it order number, right? And I save that view. Automatically, when I go to Excel, I can click on refresh all, and now it will change to order num. Now it doesn't show here because I need to choose it, but if I go to my, I can also search here.
I thought it was sales order number.
Sales order number. There you go. Here at the end, and I can re-edit that. So it's really connected directly to the database. And if I wish, in the connection, you could, double click on that and have your Excel even refresh automatically every so often, so you don't have to refresh it manually. In addition, we have some clients that are using Crystal reports that allows you to do, any reports that you wish. It may be not in a matter of minutes to build it. It takes sometimes a day or sometimes more than that. Depends on the complexity. But then if you have a report that, you want to see that in a specific way and present it in a nice way, Crystal reports is really the way to go. And you build it once, and it's supposed to last for life of using the software and so forth. So, any questions so far? I'll look at the chat. Okay, no questions. So we'll move to the next one. The next one is banking integration, and I know it's a hot topic, and just briefly discuss what we are talking about. To integrate with banks, either to get file from them on the bank statement and then be able to reconcile that, or to send them files, checks needs to be written, or ACHs needs to be generated. So all those services the bank provides, and we normally work with them because each bank have different formats and each service of the bank have different formats. But all of those could be integrated because SAP added a feature of mapping, and they added two out-of-the-box SAP add-ons to support that. We sometimes, because of some limitations, using our own mechanism to send them files, not using the SAP add-ons. There are also options to use SQL to create a file in the format that they need and to auto-generate that every day or every so often. So with that being said, Carol will go through that feature.
So there's a few things that you have to do to get set up to create the flat files or to receive CSV files from the bank. And the first thing is that you have to enable the add-on. To select the bank. Tell it that you want to install the bank statement processing. So,
and this is reversible, as you can see, it's grayed out. So you may want to do some tests and make sure this is going to work for you before initiating that.
Yeah, I would definitely do it in the sandbox first. And then we have added this is out of the box too, but a lot of people don't have them installed. So you will need to have installed the EFM format definition. And it only really needs to be running when you're creating the folders, the payment, and then the payment service.
So the EF, one of the add-ons is really enables you to do mapping with the bank files and when to start reading the file and things of that nature. And then the other one is for generating the file or receiving the payment.
Yeah. So you can use this a couple ways. You can use it to at month end to do your to do your monthly bank reconciliation, and you'll see that. And sometimes this isn't visible on your menu. So if you are in a menu anywhere and you go to form settings, you can make sure that that menu item is visible. Because sometimes it might not be visible, like process external bank statement isn't visible right now, but I'll turn it on. Okay. So don't panic if you don't see it at first. So we're going to do bank statement processing, assume it's the end of September, and we have created the bank, we have our bank statement, and we've saved it in the format, that it comes from the bank. And so we have mapped already internally how to, the fields that the bank sends us the information in. So the setup for this might take a couple of days to get it to be the same just because each bank is, their NASHA stuff is pretty specific. But once you get it dialed in, so it'll say I've loaded 5 rows here. And so we have our draft in here. So click into it. Let's do expand all. You can do posting proposal for uncleared rows, a revolutionary little button. And it gives you the recommendation of what it thinks you should, based on the criteria that we've selected, like say, has to match dollar amount exactly, can have a 5-day tolerance between when we printed it and when it hit the bank. You know, you can do those kind of parameters for what it might recommend. We have to put in a beginning balance. Oops. Not that healthy of a beginning balance. But now it's all, that's how easy it is to reconcile. We'll do finalize. Yes.
And those definitions, you know, how to have the system match is being saved under the setup. So also these windows and other windows will be available through the
banking
setup of the banking,
mm-hmm.
Bank processing, basically, matching criteria.
Yeah, these are what your
rules,
tolerance that you put in there for how to do for what you want the bank to suggest to you is this one. And then the external
information code for additional references and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, so that's how you map the bank fields to the SQL fields.
Now, it was quite challenging to get that in place because documentation is not best, and there are multiple places to try to get documentation. So we are right now working on a document to, you know, of us to have a step-by-step how to use it and how to configure that. So we will provide that and send it together with this video and presentation next week.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that, oh, go ahead. Sorry, Owen.
No, go ahead.
The other thing that you can use this for, and Beth, feel free to interrupt me if I'm not explaining this well, is that for daily deposit postings, you can create a different configuration to bring the files in every day from the bank. If you have credit card transactions to reconcile, you know, to post into the system, even if you get a lot of stuff through ACH, and that you can import every day what happened the day before in the bank, and then it'll post the deposits, physically post the deposits against invoices in the system.
Yep. Yeah, that's perfect. The other nice thing to know about that, if I could add, when you're in that bank statement, once you click the posting proposal for uncleared rows, if it finds one that it matches perfectly, it will already pre-select that little cleared button over on the left-hand side. And so all you have to do is select, you know, and choose what to clear for the rest of them. Or, you know, if you don't think the one that the computer has selected is correct, you can always re-choose. But that's where, you know, maybe some feedback, and once you've gone through this a few times, then you can kind of go back and readjust your matching criteria from there. But it will do that both for the monthly reconciliation and your daily uploads.
Yeah. So it's basically, from a technical perspective, as a user, you know, once you set it up, you just import a file and go through the criteria. From a technical perspective, SAP created also electronic file manager, which, you know, we created some of them, but there is an option to create any new format. So I would imagine that almost anything the bank can provide, CSV, text, you know, things of that nature, can be read. You know, some of the ones we created that allows you to do all kinds of definitions and mapping with the file. So this is kind of more technical, but this is something you do once, and you have it again for the life of the work with that bank, or until they change the file. and banks are not changing files very often. So,
yeah. I knew you would like this, Diane.
in addition to that, they created in one of the newest version a nicer mapping that have more of a graphic way, so you can match different things. But that's more technical. So you know, if there is a need, maybe we'll do another session that will focus just on that, because that's a whole topic by itself. So that's kind of how it's related to incoming, you know, bring statement from the bank or from merchant and things of that nature. The other option is really to export to the bank. So some banks provide the options to validate the checks you are sending to the vendor. Some of them are, you know, taking a list from you and send the checks on behalf of you. Some of them will do the ACHs for you. So with those add-ons, SAP created those and integrated those with the payment wizard. So in the payment wizard, as you go through payment run, and right now I'm going to go through outgoing payments, bank transfer. There is an option to select a bank file, so I'm going to choose to save the file somewhere in PB1 and bank files, and I'm going to call it test check file, sorry, ACHs, I think it was. And then different banks provide different options. Some banks just say, okay, go to the website and then upload that file on a daily basis. And then some banks allow the options to do SFTP, so it's not a semi-manual, it automatically goes to the bank without any upload or anything of that nature. So I'm going to save that, and I'm going to go through the wizard, add all vendors, choose, you know, the criteria selection, and then choose the banks I want to send payment from, and choose which invoices could be paid. So maybe we'll pay those two. And next, and there are two options. One of them is generate payments and payments document, and one of them is generate payments and you know, generate the electronic outbound bank files. So I'm going to choose this for now, and that executed the wizard. So that created the payment orders, and then the bank file is going to be available. I can create the file, run it through test, and then when it's finished the test, it will run through production run. So that created two records in this case. I'm going to create, it goes to production and create the file, actually create the files here. So that's basically the way this wizard works. Now, we do see a little bit of limitations, and we did see that sometimes it, you know, there are some things that are challenging as far as setup. So as I said, we will provide that documentation. Sometimes when there are limitations, we also have, you know, non-SAP add-ons way to do things. One of them is through, if we're talking about the incoming, the statement evidence that you could DTW, you know, monthly the bank statement, and then go through reconciliation that allows you to do automatic and semi-automatic reconciliation. So basically, if you choose the bank, that's again another way without using those add-ons that I mentioned, the SAP add-ons. You know, you either type or copy paste from Excel, or you can also import from bank file. Okay. And then as you click edit and edit, let me close that because I don't have a file ready here. Debit and credit will be here with different dates. And this is for account, the checking clearing account, basically. Normally you do that for the bank, so I'm not sure why I chose this one. But as you go through reconciliation, I'm going to show you the manual because the automatic does that really fast, so I will show you how it works, and then we can do the automatic and the semi-automatic. But 113, let's pretend it's a bank not clearing account, and I do reconciliation. So I will see on the left side, you will see everything that's posted in your database. On the right side, you will see everything that's coming from the bank file. So if we do the automatic way, you can always double click on the left and double click on the right and click on reconciliation if it matches. But you can also decide to do semi-automatic or automatic and define different criteria. So for the amount should be the same. The posting date should be, maybe 2 days apart, or maybe the reference date, the reference one should be exactly the same, so I can mark it as high. And as I do reconciliation and I click on one of the transaction, it will give me matching recommendation from the left side and will recommend. So I can do reconcile one by one or skip that because it didn't have recommendations and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. And if it's a deposit that's coming in on this, if you select the deposit, like the merchant deposit into your bank from the previous day for credit card transactions, if you select it and it's like $7,483, it'll find the individual transactions from each customer payment and group them and select them to go with it, following that criteria that you selected.
Yep, good comment. And then there is also the automatic, which works in a similar way, but that does that automatically. Companies normally use it when they have big merchants and they need to reconcile daily. So that does the whole thing for you. So you can have totals or totals with restrictions to have the date or reference and things of that nature match with your bank file. So again, to summarize, two ways to import bank files. One is using the statement evidence and DTW or from Excel, the bank file. And the other way is using the SAP add-ons to bring it directly from the bank. For the export, we can use the SAP add-ons. For some customers that needed something special, we bypassed the add-on, that the add-on couldn't support them. We bypassed the add-on, and we used basically SQL to create a file in the structure, in exactly the structure that the bank file wants, and export that on a daily basis to communicate with the bank. So I know many ways to do the same things, but each way is is different, and each bank is different, and each customer have different needs. So hopefully that makes sense, and now you know better how to do and what are the options to integrate with banks.
Yeah, Diane had a question about grouping deposits by batches, and yes, that's basically what it does. Is it takes the batch total from the bank and gathers all the deposits from each individual credit card posting that's in SAP and gives you its suggestion of what totals up to the amount that went into the bank from all the 57 deposits that were made, credit card payments that were made.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay, so the bank integration, again, to summarize, you can use SQL mechanism or you can use SAP mechanism. It enables you to import bank statement and to export payments from SAP. And that basically summarizes the banking integration capabilities of SAP. I feel like we touched some of the reconciliation things, like the automatic and automatic reconciliation, as well as manual. Some clients that don't have too many things are still working in the old way, and that's totally fine. If it's simple, I would definitely, use the mechanism of doing manual reconciliation. So basically, you just enter, I think most customers are doing that now. Just choose the bank, choose the ending balance and the date, and of the statement, and then clear the transactions one by one for manual reconciliation.
I definitely want to get to the sales tax part, Oren, so I think we should move.
All right, thank you. So next one is sales tax mechanism, and we wanted to go through different things. First, to review the features that everybody should be aware of or that were exist in previous versions, and then present also a new feature, SAP providing the newest version of 9.2 PL6 related to tax service. There are still some limitations, and I'm talking to to the development of SAP to add those features, and those will come shortly. So I'm going to talk also about the limitations. So first, let's see how to define tax code. So I'm going to go to states, setup, financials, and tax. And basically, as you define taxes, you have the jurisdiction to define, state, county, city, or special. The jurisdiction, so you can define, all your cities and all the states, and those can be uploaded also through DTW. In the US localization, all the states are going to be there and things of that nature. So then you need to define cities. You can do that manually in each city. You can double click to, if something changed, to define the effective date and what would be the new rate and things of that nature, and define the different accounts. But what's really interesting is what they added, I think, in 9.1 version, the account tax code determination. So if up until then, each client had to have, on the ship to, by default, the system comes with ship to. So it works by the ship to. So for every ship to, you can define sales tax code for the client. And that's how it used to work in the past. So each client needs to be managed, each ship to needs to be managed separately. And then when you have, one-time transaction to a specific region, you had to choose the sales tax manually. So now there is the sales tax determination that allows you to choose, if it's an item or service or both. Are you looking at the sales or the purchasing? So you can say all purchasing are exempt, so you don't need to worry about that. So you choose the sales, and then you can choose anything that you want. If the ship to city, for example, or if the ship to state is equals to AZ, then and you can have multiple conditions, but in that case, if it's Arizona, I wanted to have line tax code of maybe I don't have Arizona, right? So I'll do California.
It's the top one. Oh, sorry. I mean, that's one Arizona one. Arizona, row 6.
Yeah, but that's the one that
for specific city.
I can use that as well. Mm-hmm. And then maybe for the header freight tax, it's going to be exempt, because if you're, for example, in Canada localization, you need to charge tax also on freight, and then in Quebec you can do tax on tax, and a little bit, but more simple because you have only few provinces. And then that tax code determination go by the line, so it will look if that transaction have that, and then it will apply this tax code and so forth. And if it doesn't find it, it go to the next line, and so forth and so forth. So that's how the tax code determination works. And again, I know it's a lot of manual process to update that, but that could be uploaded also from DTW, so you can do that in Excel and put that here. Any questions so far? And then the other thing SAP added in 9.3, and that will be very, very exciting, because that will, eliminate some add-ons in the future, because it's still a little bit limited. They provided a tax service. So SAP have a hub that stores all the tax codes and maintain them with the current rates and things of that nature if anything changes. And it's a very simple setup to do that. SAP have a note for that. But basically, the setup is, first of all, it's irreversible. So again, I recommend to do that in a sandbox first. But in the company setup under accounting data, you can define to work with the SAP hub. Well, I can actually change it to do not use. But if I decided to choose to use it in sales and purchasing, or I can do that just on sales, basically it provides you the different credentials, how to connect to the SAP hub, and what's the token and what's the URL and things of that nature. So there is node that you can just copy paste from. You define your tax as a service account for sales and purchasing, and that's all. From that point on, as you create a sales transaction, it will work in the sales order, quotations, anything, and it will calculate it for you. You choose the client. I'm going to choose maybe any US one, this one for example. And let's look at the ship to code. So the ship to code is California. By the way, even if I do one time, so I will change it now, the system will look at the information at my current document. And then I choose.
Also, if you change it on the business partner, that doesn't supersede what's on the document. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying if I chose a client and they decided, don't ship it to California, ship it to Pioneer's office in Arizona. So you can do that as well.
Okay, gotcha.
So it will take that from the transaction.
I see what you're saying. Michelle, could you mute yourself?
USA and so that's update. And then as I choose an item here, it will automatically give me the tax code associated with that. It's actually create the tax code on the fly. And the tax code is going to be here like native SAP. And it works in a fraction of a second. So there is no like delay of add-ons and things of that nature because it's really, really efficient. Now,
Avalara.
Yeah. So now I can add the document and it calculates taxes in a very efficient way. You can drill down to the tax code and it takes the Arizona, the Maricopa, and the Scottsdale City tax code, and that's what came.
And it created that tax code. We didn't have to do it. It did it.
Right. It just created tax code. If I duplicate this invoice, choose the client, and ship to. Now it created another sales tax code from California, Orange County. One of the problems that I see that it doesn't still support, all kinds of special cases and things of that nature. So, where you do taxes and when not. So a way I found to bypass that tax definition, if you wish, is to go to the business partner to tax and to make it exempt. In that way, it will not charge taxes on that client. And then what we're thinking to do with SAP, what SAP thinking to enhance that further is to connect that tax service with the tax definition, with the sales tax determination. So we can have all kinds of exemptions and all kind of rules that will bypass that sales tax service.
Christina wants to know if it will do the tax returns.
No, it just does the tax code, and based on that there are the tax codes reports, but no more than that. So there is the tax reports, but it doesn't do the returns automatically for you, and it doesn't do that. It's very basic at this point.
But if it already is shuffling it out between all the California cities, states, and special jurisdictions there, then it makes posting them on the websites, the various state websites, much easier.
Right, right. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so with that, Carol, what do you think? We'll leave the place for questions and we'll do
Yeah.
the rest of the tips in the next session because you see we're limited with time. So some of the other tips we wanted to share and maybe we'll present them in the next session. We're planning to have another accounting tips and tricks towards the end of the year, to take some end of year's activities, closing the year and, do 1099s and things of that nature. So maybe we'll incorporate them in there. And we'd like to have a session like that, like once a month. So feel free to reach out to us with suggestions and specific topics you would like us to talk about, and we'll prepare that for next session. Some documentation that are available. So we are finalizing the documentations on the add-ons and the bank integration. We're going to share it next week together with the recording of the session and the presentation to all the distribution list of our clients. There is also a new thing called the Learning Hub. SAP kind of changed how they do the Learning Hub for clients. We can get you the S number if needed, and that's the link for that. A little bit, the registration is a little bit different from how it was in the past. So we actually created a document that explain how to register and how to get access to the Learning Hub. We'll share it also together with that next week. And then there is a place called Tips and Tricks that our friends at SAP always post, on a weekly basis, the tip of the week. So I highly recommend to look at that. And the guy is always sharing additional information. So highly recommended to look at that link. And then there is the F1 that is available basically at any client environment. And the reason why I like the F1 is because it's provide information specifically on the version you are at. So if you don't have that installed or something doesn't work with the F1, it's pretty easy to get it up and running. So let us know. And if you have any questions or any suggestions, always feel free to reach out to Carol or myself. So with that being said, I'll open this for questions.